Hey guys, Marmalade here with Marmalade Outdoors, and thanks so much for joining me for this very special video. It is my summer plans for this year on the PCT. And before I get into all that and tell you the plans, make sure you stay to the very end. I've been asked over the years, how can I maybe participate or be part of your thru hike in a way of giving in some way. So I have a way that I'm going to do for the first time ever, so stay tuned to the end, and if you'd like to be a part of it and help out a little bit, I've thought of a creative way to do it, so stay to the end. But let's get on with the plan. So let's go with the past, 4 years now. This is my 5th year on trail, but over 4 years. I'm going to go over the past very quickly in case you have not followed me in any way. But you know, I attempted to do the PCT in 2019. I did the whole entire desert, which is 702 miles. Most of us chose, I live in San Diego, so I came home for 6 weeks because the snow levels were so high, it was too dangerous for me at least. I didn't have the ability to go into the Sierras. I came home for 6 weeks. All right, sorry about that, I got interrupted by somebody. But so as I said, I came home for about 6 weeks and I decided to what we call flipping. So basically what I did was I flew up to Seattle, met my future, well they're my friends now, but my trail angels that I just met that year in 2019, Dave and Christy, who live in Bremerton. They helped me get up to Hart's Pass, which is 30 miles from the border. And my intent, my plan was to hike the remainder of the trail because of the snow levels down south, and Washington had a low snow year, to just hike most of Washington takes about a month. By then the snow hopefully is melted, and it would have worked. I got about a third of the way through Washington, got hurt if you follow me, broke my ankle, and had to get off trail at Stevens Pass. So fast forward, I decided, well, I'll try to finish the rest of the trail in 1 or 2 more years. But as life happens and things happen on the trail, I came back in 2020 when COVID started and did most of Oregon. I quit after about almost 300 miles, and I regret it now. But it was mainly I was not near anybody. I wasn't near the bubble of hikers. I was by myself most of the time. I met a few people here and there, but it was very lonely, and I regret it, but I just wasn't feeling it. I got off trail. So that was 2020. 2021 was a low snow year, so I got in at Kennedy Meadows at mile 702, and was planning on going to Truckee, which is almost 500 miles, and do all the Sierras. So I started that. I did Whitney and all the major passes, things like that. Got close to Red's Meadow, but the Dixie Fire in Northern California closed all the national forests, so they made us get out. And so that I got just, I think, 250, 300 miles, whatever it was, done, and that was it for 2021. So last year I went back in near Red's Meadow and Mammoth, and was trying to go to Ashland, Oregon, which was going to be about an 800-mile chunk. I got to Truckee, and in the meantime, a big fire in Northern California for the second Euro started and closed the trail in front of me. I did skip up and do a little bit in the northern Oregon from Timberline Lodge. I just did 50 miles up to Cascade Locks, did PCT trail days, and the year was over. So this year, it's going to be different. And as I said, it's going to be different hopefully, and hopefully I can complete the trail this year, but there's more of the same. So we've had the fires in the past. When we have low rain and snow years, we tend to have more fires. This year, as you know, it's epic snow levels in the Sierras, Tahoe, Northern California, Oregon, things like that, even Washington. So it's a whole new set of problems. There's 3 sections to do. 2 are pretty major, one's a pretty short section, but let's go over them. My first section, I'll be getting on trail around the start of July. This snow level I spoke about adjusted. I wanted to start a lot earlier this year, and especially when it isn't so hot, because Northern California gets very hot. I'm from the Bay Area, so I know it. But snow levels, I had to wait it out longer, so I'm getting on trail right at the beginning of July. I'm going to get on at Truckee, where I got off last year, and I'm going to hike 560 miles to finish all of Northern California to Ashland, Oregon, which is just a little bit over the California border. I started at Ashland and did most of Oregon, I told you, in 2020, so that'll connect basically from Mexico all the way to like Bend and Sister, so I'll have a giant continuous chunk done. So when I get to Ashland, my next section is the short section, which is the middle of the 3. I need to get up to Santiam Pass, which is about 40 driving miles from Bend and Sisters, Oregon, if that gives you some kind of idea of the area of Oregon. It's in the northern part of Oregon, but I need roughly about 90 miles from Santiam Pass up to Timberline Lodge. When I do that, I'll have the entire state of Oregon finished. So that is the second section. Lastly, the third section is from Cascade Locks, which if you've never been there, it's right on the northern Oregon and southern Washington border. The Columbia River divides the two states. So I need to get to Cascade Locks, start there. I will hike over the pretty infamous or famous Bridge of the Gods, which divides the two states. You go over the Columbia River, and when you get on the other side, you're now in Washington. And I have about 300, I don't know exactly, but about 313 miles up to Stevens Pass, which I told you my first year when I flipped up and got injured, broke my ankle, I stopped at Stevens Pass. So in a weird way, it's going to be a way to kind of full cycle or circle to end where the first year my hike ended. So when I'm done with all three of these sections, I have about roughly, I don't know exactly, but I think I have about 963 miles to do this summer. All right, I've already been asked a few questions about this, even though I haven't put this video out yet, about some of the things that's going to happen this year getting on trail. So I want to answer them. And the first one is, how am I getting to these three sections? Over the years, when I was trying to finish this trail, tried to purposely leave giant chunks. So I had to get on and off trail a lot, because there's a lot of these little towns, when you get off the trail, there's no rental cars, there's no buses, there's no nothing. So it's very hard to get around. So I'm going to insert somebody who's an amazing man named Larry Elliott. I hope you don't mind me using your name, but he's been a friend for, I don't know, I'm trying to remember, Larry, when I met you. It was either, I attempted the thru hike in 19 and went to PCT Trail Days after I broke my ankle and was there. I don't know if I met you there or the year before I went when I was not a thru hiker, but I think it was the year before. But I've known Larry for a long time. He's an ex-PCT hiker, has done a decent amount of the trail. And he's just, as he's gotten older, he's just become an amazing trail angel. He's helped quite a few hikers, and we've become friendly. We don't talk all the time, but during the hiking season we do talk. But he's followed me for a long time, I know. And this guy is an amazing guy. He's going to be just this summer traveling. He's going to be getting a new camper van, and he just wants to travel Oregon. He's from Washington, but he wants to travel around and explore and camp and see family and friends, things like that. But he's offered to help me. And Larry and you guys, I don't know how I would actually do this, because I think there's a couple towns when I get done with the section, I don't have no idea how I was going to get to the next section, but that's how we always say the trail provides. I try to, it just brings back your faith in humanity, how much help you need to do these things, even if you do it all in 1 year. But so he's going to help me by basically, once I get done with the section, pick me up at that section, might hang for a day or two and rest, get me to the next section, and then he can go do his thing. And then when I get done with the section, pick me up there and take me to the next one. And the craziest part was, I will end way up. I live in San Diego. It's about as south as you get, almost in United States. But I'll end up at Stevens Pass, which is it's just a few hundred miles from the Canadian border. And then what's going to be kind of epic is he's offered, because I had just asked if anything, can you just get me to like the Seattle airport or somewhere I can fly home when I'm done? And he and I are going to do a road trip, an epic one, and just maybe hit some national parks on the way back, but just do a road trip, and he's going to drive me all the way back to San Diego, which is just insane. So I'll try to show, getting to the trail, and then of course I vlog every day on the trail, and then I'll try to do a kind of an adventure video on the way back, showing you like what kind of adventures and kind of sights we see. But I mean, isn't that incredible? And Larry, I can't thank you enough ahead of time. So another question was, do I have a plan B if, like the last 2 years, my plan A wasn't working? So I do. I want to do everything northbound. My first year, I told you I did the desert, I flipped. I did about 200 miles. I told you before I had to get off trail because of my injury. It's the only part of the trail I've done southbound. And really, I favor going north. I don't really want to go south, but at this point, I want to get the trail done. So I'm open to whatever happens. But if I started trucking, let's say there's another fire in Northern California, I'll skip up and do the other sections and try to come back if I can. I'll just be flexible. I mean, if I have to go north or south, but I want to do everything north if I can. So that's my plan B, is to be flexible. But I mean, if you do the PCT, you have to be flexible anyway. That's just how it is nowadays. All right, another question was, am I cooking this section of the PCT this summer, or am I cold soaking? And my plan is to cold soak, and to either cold soak food some of the time, or just eat straight up, like tortillas with meat and cheese and things like that, things I don't have to cook or prepare. That is my plan. When I weighed my cook set with the fuel can and everything in there, it's about between 13 and 14 ounces, so it's almost a pound. I still treat myself when I do weekend hikes here, anywhere, or on the PCT or whatever, just get out. A lot of times I bring it because I do enjoy it. But when it comes to the long distance hiking and really doing the miles, and actually while I'm hiking, I've proven to myself that I can do the daily miles, but I want to enjoy it. Like when I first started the my through hike, my pack was soul crushing heavy. And so did I get through the 702 miles of desert? I did. But it was exceptionally hard for me when a lot of people, well, there's people who were heavier than me, but I was on the heavy side of my backpack. But there was a lot of people that had ultralight packs, and it just seemed to enjoy it more and just not be just burdened by the weight of it. So that's the point of all this. I am 60 as I film this. So, you know, when I started the hike, I was 56, so I was a little bit younger. So, yeah, as every year I hike, it's just a fraction more difficult, I notice. So, you know, lightening my pack does me a favor. And so, yeah, I'm doing that on purpose. I do use my stove sometimes, but in this case, I'm not going to bring it. All right, another question was, what do I think my challenges will be this year? And I wrote down a couple things: snow, heat, always bugs, and my weight. So using the last one, my weight, I don't mind having a little, I don't like weight on me in general because I've always been really in shape, but I don't mind a little bit of weight on me when I'm through hiking because I have some reserves. This will be the longest section. If I complete it this year and there's no fires or anything, it's 963 miles. The longest section I ever did was my very first year. I did 702 miles of the desert, another 200 in northern Oregon. So that was 900 and whatever that is, 902, 903 miles. And between those two giant chunks I did in that 900 miles, I lost 33 pounds. So I had it to give, but you know, you get to a point where you almost don't want to give any more. You shouldn't be able to give any more. So I'm doing a longer section of what is that, about 60 miles further, Northern California. So anyway, what I'm getting at is I'm going to try to do my best to eat more caloric foods in town. I'm going to try to eat better on trail. I lose my appetite on trail. It's really weird. For being a big guy, I don't eat a lot. So I'm going to try to supplement it with peanut butter and things that I can get calories. So the heat. I'm starting, and the problem with, I told you guys that I had to start later than I wanted because of the snow level. So I'm giving as much time as possible for snow to melt. As it is, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to bring from Truckee, the elevation I started at is about 7. I'll be around 7,000 to 8,000 feet early on. I can guarantee you almost that there's going to be a decent amount of melt, but there's going to be a decent amount of snow, and mostly on the northern facing sides of the mountains. So I'm probably going to bring my micro spikes just to make sure I'm extra safe. I can send them home. You know, I don't want to carry the extra pound, but I'll bring them to be safe. And then when the snow dissipates, I can send them home. But the snow is going to be an issue, especially when it's in July, because then you're post holing. I'm a big guy, post hole anyway in the snow, but it's going to be mush and just soft. It's going to be a pain in the rear end. You know, I hike early, so I'll try to get as many miles as I can, but that might hinder me getting my average miles per day that I'm planning on doing in order to finish this section and the time I have from work. So snow, and then the heat. I'm from the Bay Area, I'm from Northern California, and in July and August when you're in Northern California, it can be 100 or well over that. Now it helps to be at high elevation in the mountains. It might only be 90, but it's still hot when you're backpacking. So the heat is definitely a thing. And then of course bugs. Bugs are just going to be, the problem is when you have also a big snow and rain year, you have the snow lasts longer, and so you have the bug season is longer. So mosquitoes are going to be a pain, and the bugs love to eat me alive. I've told you guys this before, so I'll have 100% DEET with me and just try to battle it when I can. I have a bug net for my head for my sanity. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. I think snow, heat, bugs, and my weight. So, you know, I'm aware of them. I try to combat them as well as I can, but that's going to be my biggest test this year on this section. Okay, my last question I'll address, and I really don't like this one, but I want to address it, and it's not like I'm trying to pat myself on the back, but I don't like this question. I've been asked it over the years, off and on, and it is, do I have a silver spoon, or am I independently wealthy, or do I have like a trust fund, things like that? Like, how can I afford to just take off and go hike, and then especially year after year, because I haven't finished this trail yet? And no, as a matter of fact, I've always come from exceptionally humble means. I'm an only child, raised by a grandmother. She's long since passed away. I've been on my own almost my whole life, and I've never really had much. But I am not afraid to work hard and go get what I want. Doing these through hikes, whether you do it all in 1 year, and this has actually made it, people don't realize this, trying to finish a through hike, it's not a through hike anymore, but trying to complete this trail over 4 or 5 years is actually way harder and takes way more effort and money and time and gear and all that than just doing it in 1 year. So I've stuck through this with, it's something that there's a lot of things in my life I haven't followed through or finished with, and this is my goal, and I want to do this. I'm hoping I finish this year, but if I don't, I'm going to keep going. But what do I do I've said this many times. I used to be in the corporate world for 25 plus years. Many years, made six figures. I made a lot of money. I was completely dissatisfied and unhappy and stressed and worried. My quality of life was terrible. I worked all the time, but I had no life. I had no time. And so, as I've said many times, about 5 years ago, I traded money for time, things for experiences. So that's what I'm doing. So I had to figure out a way. And you guys, if you ever want to do, it doesn't matter if it's a vacation to a foreign country or it's doing a long hike or something like this. If you don't have the money, you can be creative and make it work. And that's what I've done. I can be honest and tell you what I do. I probably work 30 to 40 hours a week doing DoorDash in the morning. Every single day. If you don't see me on one of my hikes or going and doing a section hike or something, every single day of the week, many times 7 days a week, it could be weeks and weeks and weeks before I go hike, and I do it every day. I get up at 5 in the morning. You guys know I'm experimenting living in my car because I eventually want to be in a van. I go in my gym, I take a shower, and I'm on the road in my territory doing DoorDash at 6 a.m. every single morning. And like today I'm off work at my regular job, so I'll drive from 6 to 12, 1, 2 o'clock and make money. And then I do the other stuff I need to do and film these videos like I'm doing after I drive. I already drove this morning. So then like if I work, so that's 30 to 40 hours a week. I also work 30 to 40 hours a week on a normal schedule at my regular job. And those are always, I start about usually 9:45 to 11 o'clock, somewhere in there. So I drive from 6 all the way as long as I can and then drive straight to work. So my days are very long. I get up at 5 and I get off at 7:30 and just repeat it over and over and over. So no, I don't have a silver spoon. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you I work, between 60 and 80 plus hours a week for 10 months out of the year so I can go hike this summer for 2 months. And that's how I do it. I just had to figure out, I don't make the money I used to make. How am I going to make it work? It's tough because I put a lot of miles on my car. There's a lot of expenses for, new tires. I go through tires fast and repair and all the maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So there's other costs, and I go through a lot of gas, which, as you guys know, at least in California, is crazy expensive. And so it's the only way. It's not the only way. It's the best way I could figure out to do it for me. So that's how I make my hikes work. My first year I quit a job I had. I was not in the corporate world anymore. I had a job I loved and I was well respected. After 2 years, I worked 2 jobs to save up to hopefully do my whole PCT hike my first year, and I had to quit it. And when I came back, they loved me, but they weren't hiring. So I basically couldn't go back there. So, and that could even happen this year. There's theoretically maybe a recession coming. Who knows? When I get back off trail. I think I failed to tell you, actually, now that I think about it, how long I'm taking. I'm taking about 2.5 months off. So my plan is it's going to take about 560 miles in Northern California, about a month roughly. So that'll be the whole month of July. And then I'm using August to hopefully do that 90 miles in Northern Oregon and that 315 or 13 miles of lower Washington to finish my trail. I'm hoping that takes about 2 months. I know what I need to average per day, including some rest days and stuff like that. And that'll give me about 2 weeks to drive home, do that road trip I talked to you about, and see some sights and actually stop walking and rest my body for a couple weeks before I have to go back to work. So yeah, anyway, that's a long answer to that question. All right, so now we get to the part I mentioned in the beginning of the videos. How could you be part of this hike if you want to? I try not to use my channel to ask for things when it comes to help on the trail. The people who have helped me has happened organically. I do ask sometimes if you want to donate to help my channel and help my hikes, you can go to my Patreon or one-time donation to PayPal, and you can buy things on my Amazon links, that stuff like that. But when it comes to my hike, I've tried to not use my channel to beg for things like that. But I've been asked over off and on, I should say, over the years, how could I be a part? Could I do something besides that? And I thought of a creative way. Some of the other hikers have done this, but I have about 12 to 13 resupply points over these 3 sections this year to finish. And if you would like, I would love for you to be part of it. And what can you do? Well, you could send me a resupply box. How does this work? So I've created a master list of, because I'm cold soaking or not cooking at all, I've created a master list of all the breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, condiments, electrolytes, things like that, all the things I might drink or eat that I would use on trail that I like. So how this will work is you can email me if you're interested at marmaladeoutdoors@gmail.com. I'll put it in the description box below if you forget. marmaladeoutdoors@gmail.com. That's my channel's email address. If you'd like to send a box to me at one of those towns and those stops, I've created a list that has, like I said, all the food. We would wait till we get closer for you to actually physically send it, but I could send you the information first. It'd be the document with all the lists of the food. I would give you the actual address of most of these are going to be post offices, so I'd give you the actual address, but how to label it for hikers. There's a certain way you do it for hikers, and how to do the address, but also the label, so they know they'll hold it for a PCT hiker. Oh yeah, and lastly, if we do assign like a certain town to you, I'll tell you how many days of food I need that one, because I figured out, basically I know, let's just pretend like the next town from that box is 80 miles and I can average 20 miles a day. I'll know I need 4 days of food. So I've already pre-planned my resupplies to know, like, if I buy in this town, if nobody sends me a box, I'm going to go in this town and buy, let's say it's 4 days of food. I know that's what I need because I know how far roughly the distance is to the next town. So yeah, if you'd like to be a part of that, would help me out a lot. If you don't want to do that, there's, once again, the Patreon, there's ways down, the links down below in my description box. You can just do it one time if you just want to be part of it. I'll definitely try to give you a shout out. If I get a resupply box from you, I'll give you a shout out in a video and show like what you got me, maybe on my rest day when I'm in town. So I'll give you a little bit of credit there. So the main thing is it'll kind of make you, I don't know, I just had people say that, they'd like to help somehow, and how could I be a part of it? So this is kind of a creative way. I thought, I'm planning on buying all my resupplies, so if nobody sends me, I'm super okay with that. That's my plan. If you do that, that's great. Whatever feels right to you. Real quickly, I'll add that the U.S. Postal Service, probably the cheapest way to do it, that we do it, is we use the flat rate boxes. There are certain sizes. They have different prices depending on how little or big they are, but they're flat rate, so you can put bricks in them and they don't cost any more, so they don't care about the weight. And the food can be heavy, so that's the way to do it. I do know that sometimes, depending on what people send, it could be bigger than the flat rate boxes, so it may cost you a little more in shipping, but I want to let you know that that's one way that we do it, and it saves a lot of money on trail anyway. All right, that went a little longer than I thought it was going to be, but I hope you enjoyed that. I'm excited. I'm just hoping. The last 2 years, I thought, man, I'm going to get these giant chunks done. I thought it'd be done last year over the last 2 years, and these fires just keep happening. So, the main thing is I'm going to try to get through Northern California before anything like that starts. Hopefully no fires happen, but if I can get ahead of the fires, a lot of times that's what helps. Some people, they're doing the whole trail, go slow, and then when they get through with the Sierras, they're so far behind. Late in the summer, the fires start and they get stuck behind them and they have to skip giant chunks or not finish. So I'm trying to obviously not just finish the trail, but try to get ahead of these fires if there are any, or any kind of emergencies, things like that. And I'm just really looking forward to it. I can't wait to, Northern California has a bad rap, but it's way prettier. I've watched a lot of videos on it, way prettier than most people think. And when I finish towards the end of Washington, when I get closer to Stevens Pass, I get to go through the Goat Rock Wilderness. I cannot wait to see goat rocks. It's one of my top 5 things on the trail I've been wanting to see, and I can't wait to bring it to you and just be there in person. I hope I have good weather because the views are amazing, so hopefully you don't have like a foggy, cloudy day. But if I do this right, like I said, Northern California will be July, and the rest will be in August, and I'll finish before, I'll be pretty far north up there in Washington, and you kind of don't want to get too far into September. It starts raining every day, so I think the timing's just right, weather right. I might have the whole time in the bug season, but that's part of it. And that is it. Let me know what you think. I love hearing from you, and even if it's just a positive comment, and if there's any way you want to support or can support the channel, do that down below, or even if you want to do, like I said, a resupply box. And that's it. I'm excited to share this with you. I can't wait to get back on trail. This has been almost 10 months straight of working day and night just to get back on trail for my 5th year in a row, and I'm hoping my last to finish this trail. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.